Listen to the sound of truth. It trumps the sound of fear.
Serving under the king.
The family of Sennacherib.
And a massive Martian flood.
All of this and more coming up next on Bible Discovery TV. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Rod Hembry.
And I'm Janice.
And this is Quick Study television program. I'm glad you decided to join us. I'm delighted. In fact, on today's program, I thought what we'd do is look at this, Isaiah chapter 35 to 36. We're going to focus specifically on Isaiah chapter 36, verses 1 to 15, where we hear, listen to the sounds of truth. It trumps the sounds of fear. Now, we'll talk about the sounds of God coming up in a moment, but first we have Corey with Bible history and archaeology. Corey?
Today we are going to be looking into the records of Assyrian King Sennacherib and one of his sons.
One of his sons. We also have Ryan here with the science guy and cosmic mysteries. Ryan?
Today we're looking at a global flood on the planet Mars. Is there any scientific evidence for such a story? We're going to find out.
A global flood on the planet Mars. What are you up to?
Well, do you know who was Shebna to King Hezekiah?
Shebna? Okay, very good. Well, all of that and more coming up next. Stay there as we continue on Bible Discovery TV and Quick Study Television.
The books of Kings, Chronicles, and the book of the prophet Isaiah all talk about the invasion of Judah by the king of Assyria named Sennacherib. Right now, you and I are going to dig into Sennacherib's own records to see if we can validate this history from 3 books of the Bible. The Bible records the military campaign that King Sennacherib of Assyria carried out against Judah. Sennacherib's invasion of Judah, destruction of Lachish, and the besieging of Jerusalem that traps King Hezekiah inside. The Bible is not the only document to record these events. There have been 4 clay cylinders and 3 clay prisms found buried in the foundation of Sennacherib's palace at Nineveh. He had them written less than a year after his conquest of Judah, and then buried for future generations to uncover. The prisms end with a request from Sennacherib. In future days, when this palace grows old and falls into ruins, may some future prince repair its ruined parts. May he take notice of my name. Sennacherib's effort to secure a lasting name has had pleasant side effects for us today. The rest of the text is stunning. It records, Hezekiah of Judah would not bow down to me. 46 of his strongholds, all walled cities, as well as innumerable smaller towns in his territory, were taken. My men brought up siege engines, razed them to the ground with battering rams, attacked and took them by storm. The king himself was holed up in his royal city, caught like a bird in a cage. The glory of my greatness overwhelmed Hezekiah in his terror. In the end, he had to submit to my yoke and pay me tribute. What Sennacherib does not say is important. Sennacherib never claims to have destroyed Jerusalem. In fact, he has his palace walls decorated with scenes of destruction from Judah's number 2 city, Lachish. The Bible and Sennacherib agree. The land of Judah was devastated, Hezekiah humiliated, but Jerusalem was not lost.
The sacred element is now lit with the word of Rabshakeh in the time of the 14th year of Hezekiah, the king of Judah. Now he claims that the work is his and that the king's hands are enforced with the Lord. The Rabshakeh claims that the work of God's command is to destroy Jerusalem. He troubles the men with the reality of what has happened to the land through him. It could be read this way with no challenge or change. But superheroes know this and listen further to the words of Hezekiah. What they didn't know was the love and the hope that Hezekiah had put into the living Lord with his life and his kingdom. This is the real story.
Isaiah chapter 36, verses 1 through 15. Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib king of Assyria came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Then the king of Assyria sent the Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. And he stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field. And Eliakim the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder came out to him. Then the Rabshakeh said to them, Say now to Hezekiah, Thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, What confidence is this in which you trust? I say you speak of having plans and power for war, but they are mere words. Now in whom do you trust that you rebel against me? Look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed Egypt, on which, if a man leans, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. But if you say to me, We trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away, and said to Judah and Jerusalem, You shall worship before this altar? Now therefore I urge you, give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give you 2,000 horses, if you are able on your part to put riders on them. How then will you repel one captain of the least of my master's servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Have I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? The Lord said to me, Go up against this land and destroy it. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to the Rabshakeh, Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in Hebrew in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said, Has my master sent me to your master and to you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, who will eat and drink their own waste with you? Then the Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in Hebrew and said, Hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, Do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, The Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Isaiah chapter 36, verses 1 through 15.
This is Quick Study Television. My name is Rod Hembry, and this is Bible Discovery TV. Now, today we are looking at the 14th year of King Hezekiah. Now, this is an interesting rite, and King Hezekiah was a fascinating man. He has a lot of personality, and it's interesting because his personality was challenged from the front to the back. So as we read this today, we're coming to the point where Sennacherib, the Assyrian leader, is coming against Israel after he's captured the cities in ancient Judah. Now, this is a fascinating read, and we will take it very carefully, and over the next few days, we'll make sense of it. Now, let's take a look today at the overview. Now, the overview is strong moves. And in the strong move, we're going to read Isaiah chapter 35 to 36. Now, when you read that, you're fulfilling the assignment, and that means that you're actually fulfilling that spot of reading the Bible as it was written up to that point. But today we're going to focus on Isaiah chapter 36. Now, the challenge of Sennacherib covers several chapters, so we're just going to get a chance to highlight a couple of the chapters in this reading. Now then, with that in mind, let's go to chapter 36 of Isaiah. Very interesting passage as we read here what's going on. Now it came to pass, this is Isaiah 36, 1 to 4, it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, he was the king of Assyria, he came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and he took them. So he took all the cities of Judah. That's interesting. And then the king of Assyria, he sent Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to Hezekiah at Jerusalem. And he stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway to Fuller's Field. So this is a key point. And Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household of Shebna, a scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, he came out to him. Now then the Rabshakeh said to them, "Say now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king and the king of Assyria, what confidence is this in which you trust?" Now that's an interesting question. Who do you trust? I mean, do you really trust the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Or do you trust me and us because we have conquered this place? We have become gods. Who do you trust, Hezekiah? Now I want you to know that Hezekiah is very interesting because he displays the decision that man makes about a man and a kingdom and God. And so that's very interesting. So that brings us to our first point, which is this. Listen to the sounds that change us. What do you rest, or what you rest your future on? What do you rest your future on? Now that's an interesting point, and it's an interesting question because everybody rests their future on something. Whether you're somebody living and you decide, well, I'm just going to do this or I'm going to do that, you are God. When you're making your decisions, you are God. But you see, when you pray, before you make decisions, you are addressing God and you're saying, Lord, I want your way, not my way. We must go on. Isaiah chapter 5. I say to you, speak of having plans and power for war, but they are mere words. Now in whom do you trust that you rebel against me? Rabshakeh says. And so here again we see something very important, and that is that he's pushing that decision. Hezekiah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Hezekiah? Well, Hezekiah has a decision to make, and he's not talking much, but he has to make this decision. All the information is coming to his heart and his soul, and all the evidence points to the man, but he still has to make a decision. Brings me to this point. Listen to the sounds that change them. What do you trust in, and is he or it able to protect you? Now that's an interesting point because God promises that he will protect you. So now Hezekiah is coming to the point where he's got to make this decision based on who protects him. Here we go to the scripture. Now listen to this, 36, 6 through 10. Look, you are trusting in the staff of this broken reed, Egypt, on which if a man leans, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh to the king of Egypt, to all who trust him. But if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places, whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Now therefore I urge you to give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give to you 1,000 horses if you are able on your part to put riders on them. How then will you repel one captain of the least of my servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Have I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Now, just a minute here. We need to take a look at this because he's saying that God has told him or given him the power, or he is power over God. And so he actually questions whether the Bible is even relevant or true. Now that's an important point. And when we discuss this, we must ask ourselves this question. Listen to the sounds that challenge the status of God. Now that's the most important thing here. The sounds that challenge who God is and what he has done are the sounds that say that man is not God. Therefore, you must stand your course and stay in your post until God makes himself known. Now that is an interesting challenge, and we'll continue more on this on the weekend.
The Bible lets us know that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, was actually murdered by 2 of his sons. Turns out this history is validated by the Assyrian records, and his other son, Esarhaddon, took the throne. Now, Esarhaddon's records also reveal something. The Bible tells us the fate of brutal King Sennacherib. One day, while worshiping in the temple of his god, his sons struck him down with the sword and escaped to the land of Ararat. Then his son Esarhaddon became king in his place. The Bible's history is echoed in King Esarhaddon's own records. He recalls, "Disloyal thoughts inspired my brothers. They rebelled, they killed Sennacherib, they fled to an unknown land." Esarhaddon had inherited Assyria. His first project was damage control. His father had ravaged the city of Babylon. Esarhaddon wanted to gain back the people's favor and support. So he rebuilt the city, and with a hands-on approach, restored their religious shrines. His records say, "I myself picked up the first basket of earth, raised it to my head, and carried it." Esarhaddon claimed the religious right to be the king of Assyria and Babylon. Next on his plate was the rebelliously toxic nation of Egypt. Esarhaddon marched against and defeated the Cushite pharaoh of Egypt, Tirhakah, who is named in the Bible as helping King Hezekiah rebel. Esarhaddon has a large carved stone set up. On it, he boasts, "I tore the root of Cush out of Egypt so that not one of the Cushite dynasty remained there." A solemn warning to all rebels. The picture carved into this stela deserves attention. There is a very large Esarhaddon standing with Tirhakah and another conquered king hooked through the lips and tied to a rope that Esarhaddon holds. This image is what the Bible says happened to Manasseh, king of Judah. Manasseh, who was Hezekiah's son, is even mentioned in Esarhaddon's own records. How accurate is the Bible's history? Can we trust the Old Testament when it describes the kings of Israel? What are the archaeological discoveries that have opened up the world of the Bible, and how should we understand them? Join Rod Hembry and Corey Hembry-Babechko as they discover the world of the Bible. In episode 1, Rod and Corey will explore the reasons behind Israelite kingship. They will search out and explain archaeological finds that display the accuracy of the Old Testament. They will show you records from Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon that reflect biblical events. And they will show you the ancient signatures of some of Israel's most influential kings. Discovering the World of the Bible, Episode 1 is offered to you for a donation of $25 or more. If you would like to receive your copy, write to us in Canada and around the world at P.O. Box 456, Orangeville, Ontario, L9W5G2, or call us at 519-940-8338. In the United States, write to P.O. Box 150, Murraysville, Pennsylvania, 15668-0150, or call us at 724-733-8336.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Janice is here with me. Just before Ryan, we're going to introduce what we're going to do on the next program. It looks like this: Isaiah chapter 37 and Psalm chapter 76. If you read that, you'll stay in touch with us. But we're going to focus on this: the sound of truth prevails upon the sound of terror. Doing a lot of things with sound right now, and it's very interesting. So that's coming up with teaching next time on Quick Study. Here is Rye the Science Guy with Cosmic Mysteries.
Coming up now, we're going to be discussing the reality of global floods on both Earth and Mars. But is there any scientific evidence for global flooding on either of these worlds? Let's explore. The global flood of the Earth, mentioned in the Bible, is a commonly rejected idea. The most common man-made idea is that some other catastrophe happened to cause the extinction of the dinosaurs and other life, mainly an asteroid or meteor that struck the Earth. This idea does not suggest a fast extinction. According to this idea, the asteroid's impact sent dust and debris into the atmosphere, blocking the sunlight, which cut off the needed sunlight for the plants. With no plants for food, the dinosaurs and other life would die. But what does the evidence we are finding show? Asteroid impacts massive enough to destroy the dinosaurs and other life would have left at least some traces of meteors in the fossil-bearing rocks. However, the rocks in which fossils are found contain no certain fragments of meteors. Beyond that, there is no crater large enough on the Earth to match an impact of that size. Some scientists have claimed that they have found extremely large impact craters. For example, the Chicxulub crater in Mexico. This crater is not a new discovery though. It has been known for decades and was said to be the result of a volcano before it was popular to account for extinction by meteors. The evidence found fits nicely with the global flood. From the observation of the Grand Canyon to the dead fish and sea life found on high mountains, to the fossils found in mid-birth, all of these things point to a global flood. Further extinction can be explained from the climate change after the flood. Interestingly enough, Mars also shows evidence of a near-global flood in the past. Although there is no water on Mars anymore, on Mars' surface are river canyons. These canyons are similar to, but much bigger than the Grand Canyon on the Earth. It is believed that the water came from below the planet's surface. The same astronomers who reject the global flood on Earth believe that Mars once had a near-global flood. This is very interesting and ironic because they can accept a global flood on Mars, but not on the Earth. The same evidence rejected on one planet, but accepted on another. It is clear that the reason Noah's flood is commonly rejected is not due to lack of evidence, but because mankind is unwilling to accept the fact that we are responsible for our actions and will eventually have to answer to an almighty creator.
It's easy to see the hypocrisy here. There's actually a lot more evidence for a global flood on Earth than there is on Mars, yet Noah's flood is completely rejected. Though such thoughts may make some uncomfortable, it's very important to be open to the possibility of such things. Because the fact is, when you reject the truth, then you have to accept the lie. Then you get yourself all turned around. Something to consider.
Very good, Ryan. Excellent job. Now, Janice, we have to talk about what is up with you. What is going on?
Well, we have a do you know question. Do you know who was Shebna to King Hezekiah?
All right, Corey, do you know?
I do know this. That was Hezekiah's scribe.
You are absolutely right. Isaiah 36 verse 3 tells us that. Here's what his name means. He came near. If you look ahead to Isaiah 22 verse 15, he's also listed there as the overseer of the household of King Hezekiah.
That's very interesting, you know, the overseer of the household of King Hezekiah. Interesting.
But then the time we're reading in today, he was a scribe.
All right, very good. Well, here is Call to Prayer. The King's Challenge comes to us today in individual circumstances. We are faced with challenges that shake us to our very core and lead us to truth, putting it in the way that God desires it. At the end of challenges, the people of Israel did not have to fight. They did nothing. The following day, the challengers lay dead around the city as they took the spoil. There is great strength for life to make the challenge come true by trusting in God. Lord, I put my trust in you with no one in my way. I will follow you in my tendencies to clean up the mess my heart has made. Well, I want to give you a Bible question that you can answer today. Where does the Bible say the word of the Lord is good? There will not be a peace and truth spoken at least of my days. Interesting. Now that particular question is interesting. And if you think you know the answer, go to BibleDiscoveryTV.com and click on Strengthen Your Mind. It'll take you to a place where all the scriptures are and you can sort of gather all the information. Or you can use the Discovery Letter and get that information for you. I want to introduce you to Jesus Christ. He's my great friend and He's my Lord and my Savior, and He is holy. He is the only begotten Son of God. He came and He died and He rose again. Now He says that He can make you holy, and it's true. But you must decide. And if you decide today that you want Jesus Christ, then you come to Him right now. Say, Jesus, I love you, and I give you my life, and you are my Lord. I believe you died on the cross and you rose again, and today I take you. The Quick Study Bible Power Guide is available online right now and waiting for you. If you give online, you can access it immediately. Go to BibleDiscoveryTV.com and click on the Donate button, donate in any amount, and access the Power Guide today.